Hello, what's going on everyone? And we'll be taking a look at queue in this one. And in the last one, I think we'll take a look at that of the stack. So we're moving on to queue on this particular one. A queue is a linear data structure that follows the first in, first out principle. So elements are actually added at the end. Sometimes people call this rear, okay? And then removed from the front. So queue actually uses the queue from the collections module with an append to actually enqueue or add elements. And it also makes use of what we call pop left to actually dequeue or remove an element from a queue. And we're going to basically demonstrate that right now. And remember the key points that I mentioned, that we can actually make use of the queue from that of the collections module. With that, what it means that we are going to actually import the queue from that of the collections module. So let's try to do that. And what I want to do right now is I want to create a new file right here. And let's go ahead and just call this something like this is basically going to be called a queue. Let's call that queue, okay? And let's say .py, and let's open that up. Okay, you see that we have a new file that is actually called a queue right now, okay? And then I'm going to just basically create something like let's create a comment in here, and we're going to basically call this this is going to be queue implementation using the queue, okay, like that. And then for us to be able to make use of this particular dequeue right now, that's actually present in a module that is actually called collections, okay? Remember when we worked on stack, we did not actually make use of this, and the reason for that is because we can actually or easily make use of the append method that is actually present in that of the list. Okay, so we did the stack implementation making use of list, okay? So that's what we did. But from this one right now, we're going to implement that making use of this dequeue. And we need to import that from the collections, okay? And just like I've already shown you guys, if you want to import a specific thing, you can just do from collections, which is a module. So we're going to just say from collections right there. And we basically want to say something like import. So let's make use of this keyword called import. And what do we basically want to import? We want to import the queue. So we're going to just say the queue. Let's make sure type that correctly. So this is the queue from that of the collections, okay? And then we'll have that right there. So the next thing I want to do right now, I want to create a variable down here, and I'm basically going to call the queue. So let's call this queue, and I want to go ahead and set that to a method that is actually called the queue. So this is going to be the queue, and just set it like that, okay? So remember this is not spelled with repeating these particular letters twice, okay? So just say the queue this way and you will just be fine, okay? So that's just that on that line. And then the next thing I want to do, I think I want to add plenty of comments right here, okay? So I want to just say something like enqueue, because that's actually what I want to do next. So this is going to be called enqueue elements, okay? So with that, it means that I basically want to start adding some elements to this particular variable right now, okay, called a queue, okay? So I want to add some element or append some element onto it, because the way that it is right now is actually empty. In fact, if we do something like print, let me do print. I'm not quite sure what that is actually going to give us, but let me just say elements of the queue, okay, like that. And we can introduce a comma right here, and then we can basically go ahead and pass in this particular variable. I just want to print that out to the screen. If there is anything inside of it at the moment, we're going to just basically see that. So I'm going to just save this, and then let's just try and run this. I'm going to right click on that and then select run queue. Okay, so if you take a look in here, you see that we have an empty queue right there. Okay, we do not actually have anything. So what we want to do right now is that we want to basically add some elements to it. Okay, so if we do that, we're going to just do that right here. Okay, so I'm going to just do the first thing I want to do right now is to add my first element, and I'm going to be making use of append if you want to add an element to this right here. Okay, we're going to make use of the method that is actually called append, and to do that is really very simple. All you need to do is, first of all, you need to take this particular variable right here and then place it right here, and we're going to do dot append. Okay, remember that this is a variable. You can alternatively make use of anything different right there. You can just use something like queue if you want to just basically use queue. Okay, so if you want to use queue like this, if you use it, that means if you come down here, you're going to basically just do queue. Okay, but I just basically want to make use of the full spelling right there. Okay, so we'll have that right there, append, that we're going to throw in our parentheses. Then what do we basically want to append? Let's say we want to add a customer right here. Someone just say something like customer. It's basically, maybe that's going to just be customer one, okay? And I want to add like 2 or more or 3 more, okay? Let me add 3 more. Sorry about that. Let me just make sure I copy this. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we'll have 4 elements right there. So I'm going to change this one to customer 2 and change this one to customer 3. And then the last one right here is going to be customer 4. Okay, so we'll have that. I want to save the changes. I want to press Ctrl S or Command S for those that are using the other type of operating system. Okay, so if I right click on that, I want to click on Run. And then if you take a look at right here, we're going to see that we'll have customer 1, have customer 2, customer 3, and then customer 4 right there. So this is just basically how you can go ahead and then be able to enqueue. Okay, this is what we have just done right now, is to enqueue. That means to add elements to the queue. Okay, so that's just that. All right, so now that we've really learned how to really add an element or enqueue an element onto the queue that we have, and you have seen the result right here. You see that the first one is right here, the second one is, in fact, if we add the fifth one right here, I'm going to just paste this and then add 5 right here. Okay, you see that if we save the changes and then run, you're going to notice what is going to happen. You see that it comes right here. Okay, so and that's basically also found in the definition, okay, that you can actually add elements, can actually get added at the end of the queue. Okay, if you don't want to call that at the end, you can actually call that rear. Okay, and then you can also remove. When it is time to basically remove an element, it's going to actually start from the front. Okay, so if I want to start removing an element right now, I basically believe that it's going to start from the front. But if you're adding an element, it starts from the end. That's the rear. Okay, so just take a look at that. Okay, so this is the end right here. If I add another one, it's going to come just right after number 5. But if I want to start removing it, it's going to start popping or removing that from the first element that we have in here. And we're going to basically experiment with that right now. So to do that right now, what I'm going to do right now is to get down right here, and I'm going to put a comment right here and just say something like dequeue elements. And then to do that, we're going to make use of a method that is actually called the pop left. Okay, and I'm sorry that I think I kind of mentioned the pop alone. And what we normally do if we are working with that of the dequeue, we are going to make use of a method that is actually called the pop left to be able to remove the stuff. And the reason that is pop left is because it follows a principle that is actually called the first in, first out. That's FIFO. Okay, people normally call that FIFO. So the first one that actually got into the system is basically going to be the first one to get out of the system. Okay, that is just how that basically works. So for us to do experiment with that right now, let me just do print. I'm going to just do print right here. And I think I should have also added something like comments in here. Okay, I think we basically have a comment right here. I'm going to just do print. And what we basically want to do right here, I'm going to just say something like dequeued customers. Okay. And then, okay, let's just basically say dequeue the customer. And then if I do a comma right here, what I basically want to do right now is to bring in, I'm going to just copy this variable right here, which is actually called a queue, and then drop it right here, right? And then the next thing I want to do is just do dot pop left. Okay, so I'm going to just do pop left like that. Okay, so this is just basically it. So what happens is that if I go ahead and save these changes right now and then run, you're going to notice that the first item that is going to actually get popped is actually going to be customer 1. Okay, and that's basically going to get printed out for us with this line that we have just written right here. Okay, so it's going to just say something like dequeue the customer, and then it's going to mention the customer that has been dequeued. Okay, so let's save the changes, and then if we right click on this page and then run queue. And then if you take a look down here, you're going to see that it works. Okay, dequeue the customer right here. And then what we will now have is basically we'll have customer 1 to have been dequeued from the system. All right, so that's just what that is. Okay, and if you doubt that that was not actually popped, if we like copy this right now, which is basically the line that we want to use to print out all the elements that are here. So I want to put that right here, and basically this is actually going to like print out the result for us. I'm going to save the changes. Now right click on that again and then print, and then you notice that if you check the result that has been printed for right here, we now start with that of the one that is, that of the customer 2, that is no customer 1 here anymore, and that is just because it has been popped right here, so it's no longer present in the system. So that's just what that is, and I hope that you guys kind of understand that. And it's really very simple, right? So just first in, first out. Customer 1 came in first, and then it was also the first to be popped out. That's FIFO for you guys. So if you like the video, just go ahead and then hit the like button and then share it with your friends and your fellow students. And in the next one, we are going to basically take a look at dequeue.